Hey guys, what's up? MadSeason here, back with another video for you. The world of Azeroth is a big place with a lot of quests to find, and some are as easy as strolling into one of the major hubs, and others require a bit of ingenuity, exploration, or an add-on to track down. In this video, I'd like to cover all of the hidden quests in the game, sticking mostly with Classic because, well, they stopped really making hidden quests for the game once Classic ended. This is before the age of quests being marked on your map or mini-map, or waypoints to guide you straight to them. On that note though, it's kind of a tricky thing to categorize. Like this random grave in the middle of nowhere is pretty hidden, but what about this scene? Can you find the quest here? If you guessed this little paper, you'd be correct, but can you really call it hidden? Well, maybe hidden in plain sight, since there's no exclamation mark nor anything highlighting it, which resulted in many players just walking right by it. But I'll try my best, and hopefully this will be handy for those checking out the re-release of the game. Starting with the lower level quests here, first up we have Captain Sanders' treasure map. Now quest drops are kind of tricky as well. There are a ton in the game, and a lot of them aren't really hidden. You'll normally just get them just trying to do other quests, but I wanted to include this one because the drop rate is extremely low, and thus a lot of people miss it, and also the quest itself is pretty unique and interesting I think. This is a rare drop from the Murlocs on the coast of Westfall, and upon use, you get the first part in a scavenger hunt of sorts, where you're given all of these clues, and you're meant to find all of these landmarks until you find his treasure. For part 1, you need to find his footlocker, which is described to be half buried in the sand by now, along the western coast of Westfall, near the shipwreck. After fighting through a small army of Murlocs, just as the clue said, you'd find a small interactable footlocker located on the coast. But in the spirit of keeping things interesting, I'll leave you to figure out the exact location for yourself. I mean, it is a scavenger hunt at the end of the day. Speaking of which, again, at this point, there were no quest markers at all, and the only way to find this was to read and follow the clues. Or use Thoughtbot. The footlocker holds no treasure, however. Instead, it holds another clue, this time directing you due east, up the bluffs, and all the way to the road. You need to keep an eye out for an old chimney near the side of the road, and there you'll find an old barrel with your next clue. This one reads, from this barrel, head north, straight as the crow flies, and keep walking until you see an empty jug next to a lone windmill on the sea bluffs. And, just as the clue says, heading north, you'll find an old abandoned windmill, and nearby, a jug. Interacting with it leads to the finale of the chain, where you're directed due west, where you're promised Captain Sanders' treasure lays. Well, that's the only island I see, so let's swim on over. And sure enough, here you'll find his chest, and some precious, precious booty. And it's quite good for this level. You get a silver bar, a green cloth belt, which at this point you probably just have a white item, and you also get a shirt and an 8-slot bag, which if you haven't been using the auction house will be very handy. Here's what the belt and shirt look like. Next though, we have an oldie but a goodie, and that's the Westfall Chicken. For this one, you need an item called the Special Chicken Feed, which is only available to Alliance players, but the pet itself is obtainable for both factions. This feed is sold by Farmer Saldane, located at his farmstead in Westfall, and nearby are a bunch of chickens. If you go around spamming the /chicken emote at them enough, eventually you'll see them emote back at you and look at you quizzically, and from here they offer you a quest asking for some chicken feed, and if you complete it, they lay an egg that anyone can pick up for the quest. So make sure that you click quickly. Quite an Easter egg, huh? As far as I know, this works for any chicken in the game. It's just that these ones are more convenient because they're obviously right next to the vendor. And like I said, you can get this if you're Horde. You just need an Alliance player to do the summoning part for you. They later added another vendor that sells the feed in Tearsfall Glades, but this was from Wrath and onwards. We're not done with Westfall yet though. Located in the same zone, we have the old Lighthouse. Tucked away in the very southwestern edge of the zone, at this abandoned lighthouse, you can find a ghost named Captain Grayson. He's long since passed away, having shipwrecked on the shore long ago, but he's made it his duty to protect the coast and keep the lighthouse lit to save others from the same fate. He gives you a few quests to clear out the Murlocs on the coast, and also one for flasks of oil to keep the light aflame. You loot these from the harvest golems in the zone, which you need for other quests, so just make sure that you save them. Visiting our Horde friends though, we have the Wailing Caverns quests. These are pretty widely known, so maybe not a secret to everyone. It's just a pretty hidden and clever location, so I thought it was still worth mentioning. but located just west of the crossroads is the Wailing Caverns dungeon, the entrance of which is a giant beast skull. If you look closely at the right angle though, you'll notice a cave in its right eye. Doing some climbing on the surrounding mountain, you can navigate your way atop the skull, and with some tricky jumping, you can enter the eye, and inside you'll notice some NPCs just hanging out. Here you'll find some quests for the dungeon itself, and even a vendor if you're looking to sell, and although I did say Horde earlier, a couple of the quests are available to Alliance players, so it's still worth checking out. Heading to Redridge though, we have another one for you Horde players out there. That's right, Horde. On the docks of Lakeshire, you can find a girl named Hillary who lost her necklace in the lake, and you can find it in a glinting mud pile, which has a couple of spawn locations. So it's not so hidden for Alliance players, but she's actually friendly to the Horde, and will offer you the quest. It's nearly impossible to do it at the appropriate level because of the guards, but hey, if you're a completionist, there it is. Next up, we have Morladam's grave. Located in the Ravenhill Cemetery is Morladam, a level 38 elite. Formerly known as the Paladin Morgan Lattimore, he was once a knight of the Alliance who died by his own hands after having discovered that his family was slain once Duskwood fell to corruption. He was quietly buried near the Ravenhill Cemetery, but soon arose from the dead, wandering around the graveyard in search for blood of unsuspecting low-level players. One of the more prolific killers back in the day, and along with Stitches, the Duskwood zone as a whole can be pretty unfriendly if you're not paying attention. But he serves another purpose, because there's actually a quest to kill him, but it's rather hidden. Located north of Morbin Fell's house, you'll find an ominous gravesite, only clickable from level 28 and onwards. This is his grave, and following a short chain, you're given a quest to bring his skull back to Darkshire. You get the backstory of who he was, and if you return to his gravesite, his spirit will thank you for finally putting him to rest, and you can get a pretty decent looking sword as a reward. But next, we have one for all of you Horde players out there. Located up this hill, in a cave nestled away in the Thousand Needles zone, you'll find a lone Tauren. You really have no reason to be here, and the only way to find it is by walking by and saying, I wonder what's up there. It's quite a long chain, starting with the Test of Faith, where you're teleported to a tall spire within the zone, and are tasked with jumping off the nearby planks to certain doom. Before landing though, you're teleported back with an easy turn-in, and for the remaining parts, you're basically sent all over the Thousand Needles, tasked with bringing back monster parts. It's not too descriptive, with the worst one being basically go find this elemental with no directions at all. Busting out Thoughtbot though, most players would find him right here. You then pick up the Test of Lore part of the series, where you're sent to Braug Dimspirit in the Stone Talon Mountains. He tells you to go to Ashenvale and bring him back a book called The Legacy of the Aspects from one of those druid barrow dens, which are mazes themselves. Alas, you obtain the book however, and you return it to him and are tasked to read it, which is troublesome as Horde, as most of those guys are illiterate, right?
For the Alliance.
Regardless, you're given a pop quiz. Which of these aspects created by the Titans became the nefarious creature known as Deathwing? While I give you a moment to answer yourself, note that the wrong answer resulted in you being teleported to Camp Tarajo all the way in the Southern Barrens, which is pretty harsh. That's at least a 20-minute run back. If you answer correctly with Neltharion, however, you move on to the next part, where you're sent to an NPC in the Undercity, who then sends you to the Scarlet Monastery to retrieve a book from the library. This one is called The Beginnings of the Undead Thread, and as a follow-up, you're asked the question, what is the name of the creature that became the Lich King? Answering incorrectly this time just gives you an I am stupid debuff to publicly shame you, and answering correctly with Ner'zhul, you complete the quest, and as a grand finale of hours and hours of globetrotting, you're rewarded with a, wooden mallet, or magic stick. But hey, also some memories of a cool and hidden quest. And next, we have a 2-for-1 here for the Alliance this time. Between the wetlands and the Arathi Highlands, you'll find this dilapidated bridge, and if you get on this chain and look very closely, you'll notice a little room here with a dwarf trapped inside. After crossing north, you can loop around to your left, and with either a speed buff or a slow fall, you can just barely make it. And here, you can get a time quest to bring some moonshine all the way to South Shore before it expires. 15 minutes, which is pretty harsh considering that it's a level 27 quest, and therefore before your mount. However, if you drop down and head east along the river, and you go up this ramp and you avoid any ganking in PvP, it's not too bad. Usually you'll have a few minutes to spare, but if you're really scared, you can just set your hearth to South Shore prior to accepting the quest for the insta turn-in. But whatever you do, before you leave, you want to hop in the water anyways for another quest. Right under this bridge, underneath a stone pillar, is a dwarven corpse clenching a waterlogged envelope. This is another quest starter, written by the dwarf Sully Baloo, intended for his wife, Sarah Baloo, located in the military ward of Ironforge, and you're eventually sent back to Hillsbrad to collect some granite to build a memorial in his honor, and you're rewarded with a green ring, which at this point is pretty handy, if you catch my drift. But anyways, that's about it for this episode. There are plenty more, but I'm not even going to fool myself into believing that I'll get them all in one go. It's a big world with many more secrets to find, so much so that I think it warrants its own miniseries here. Again, just one of the more nifty aspects of Classic, I think, and it just goes to show that there are downsides to everything. Having those markers on the map and minimap are nice, but it takes away from that exploration aspect. I think that most people just looked these up back then, to be honest, but what I'm getting at here is, if everything is marked on your map, you know for sure that, alright, no need to go over there. I don't see an exclamation mark, so let's just continue down the beaten path, right? And yeah, I realize that there's some irony to be had with a video solely about hidden quests, but I figure those who want to keep it a secret wouldn't be watching anyways. But I will return to this in the future, so if you have any that you want to see, let me know in the comments and I'll add it to the list. I have about 20 more myself, so you can expect to see more in the future for sure. And one last thing before I sign off here is that I recently started streaming on Twitch for those who like live streaming. I figured I'd give myself some plugs here for a few videos at least, since I just started recently, and I just want to make sure that everyone knows. You can find me on Twitch at the same username. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video, like it if you liked it, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Farewell for now, mortals. We hope you enjoyed today's video. See you again soon.